Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome everyone. Well, not even a goddess, I'm afraid, is immune to the plight of technology and all sorts of funky bugs. We have been having lots of thunderstorms here in London, and here at Casa Braun, our Wi-Fi went down twice today, and of course about 10 minutes before the show was due to commence, everything crashed yet again. So it might look a little different because I'm on my phone, which could be challenging, could be interesting, but hey, this is the challenge of live TV, live presentation, and after a pandemic, we can take it in our stride, right? How is everybody? I hope you're all well. I have dressed up with my sparkles. I am determined to see spring in and embrace the positive things in life. And I hope you are all going to do the same. Thank you very much for joining us this evening or this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are coming from. Just a couple of things for housekeeping. If you like what you see, please click the like button, hit the subscribe button, spread the word so that we can get the Stargate love out there far and wide. I also would like to remind everyone, if you can, just to wait till the end to ask your questions, purely because I've got the wonderful Catherine answering questions on our behalf, which is Team Hathor Hosts, and Drew, my fantastic producer, who is taking care of things technically. Otherwise, I might not have been here at all. In fact, you probably would have had a view of our ceiling at one stage, because that was kind of what was going on. Anyway, everybody take a deep breath, and here we go. So yes, if you could just hold your questions till the end, that would be terrific. We'll let you know when. And as always, I will try and get through as many as I can. Please know that if I don't answer yours, it's nothing personal. It's either maybe stuff that we've covered before during the interview, or simply we've run out of time. With that said, I am so excited to welcome my guest this evening. I was lucky enough to travel with him when we went to New Zealand and Australia several years ago. And immediately I just looked into those wonderful eyes and thought, this is a good man. I like this guy. He is an intelligent, wonderful actor and brings a quiet dignity or sometimes a menace to all the roles that he plays. Always questioning, challenging, fascinating. And I've so enjoyed spending the week, last 2 weeks, getting to know his work better and spending time with him. I am delighted to say, ahoy, David Nykl.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Hathor world. Hi, Suanne.
Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for joining me this evening.
It's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure. Sounds very dramatic over there in London. Sounds like storms and Wi-Fi and oh my gosh, what's going on?
It's the apocalypse, don't you know? Didn't you get the memo?
No, I didn't read my emails this morning. I forgot.
Maybe in Canada you're being spared, you know.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
How lovely to have you on the show, my friend.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. This is a treat. I hope everything's settled down over there.
Oh, I hope so too. Well, let's see. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
If not, everyone, you can all talk amongst yourselves while I come back. But hopefully we'll be all right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump straight on in, and we're going to start at the beginning of your life. You were born in the Czech Republic, and you moved to British Columbia when you were about 2. Is that correct?
Yes. I hopped on the internet when I was 2 years old. I booked a moving company. And no, wait a second. Don't trust everything you read on the internet. Yeah, well, that's very thorough. So I was born in Prague, and just because right about a year after I was born, what's called the Warsaw Pact invasion happened, which was back at the time. What was happening was Prague and the Czech Republic was sort of one of the early countries to sort of loosen up communist restrictions. This is kind of like the late 60s, early 70s. You know, the whole summer of love thing was happening, and hippies, and Vietnam was happening or beginning to in the West, and the East was was sort of thawing from decades of communist rule. And so the Czechs were sort of taking to the streets and doing demonstrations. And in August, boom, the tanks rolled in, and my mom said she didn't want to raise her kids there, her family there. So I was a year and a half old when we immigrated to Victoria, British Columbia, on the far, far west coast of North America.
Was there a specific reason why they chose Canada, or just, did you have family there, or was it just somewhere that they
No,
looked
no,
at?
indeed, no. It was one of those immigration stories that sort of, as it happens, you know. She at that time, the way to leave or to immigrate was to go through Vienna, and the person in Vienna, the at the Canadian embassy, or sorry, no, they had a decision, I think, at that time whether they would be going to South Africa,
Yeah.
Australia, America, and I, you know, you'd have to question the thought process. But I think back then my mom thought, I don't know about America, he might get drafted. I don't know what she was thinking, and so we chose Canada, a country she knew very little about. And then the guy that was in Vienna, the what do they call the ambassadors, or the person at the consular person, was from a little town out west called Victoria. So they shipped us out to here. I was an infant and she was an immigrant, and this is sort of where I grew up on the West Coast. But she did speak Czech to me, so that's sort of where my
extraordinary, because you've kind of maintained your bilingual. In fact, you're multilingual, but you are perfectly bilingual, which I think has been a real asset in your career and your life, actually.
Yeah, indeed. I suppose so, right? Because this is, you know, between Russians on Arrow and Czechs in the Pegasus Galaxy. Yeah.
Exactly. And so your mum was a nurse and your dad a structural engineer.
Yes.
Was there sort of much artistic influence or love for the arts in the family when you were growing up?
Yeah. My mum especially. She was particularly through the theater. I remember being, you know, as a kid being dragged to the opera and not liking it and all that stuff. And she was very insistent in reading to me and really teaching me Czech too also.
Yeah.
So that did have a big influence on me, so that when I did attend university, I got an English degree and I took theater as well, and the rest is almost sort of history.
Yeah, completely. Was there a kind of defining moment where you thought, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life? I mean, very often it happens when people get their first laugh.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it was always tempered by the realities of how you're going to make money at this, which of course is all actors. So, I mean, when I was younger, when I was doing community theater and I didn't have to worry about making a living at it, then of course that's what I loved about it. That's what's originally attracted me to the profession, the fact that you can be on any given day, well, in a kid's mind, right? The reality is different, that you can be a different person in different situations. You can be a lawyer, you can be a fireman, you can be a doctor, you can be a politician, you can be a bad guy, good guy. So that kind of, you know, the appeal to the kids role playing. And then just sort of as I was getting older and going through university and doing more productions, I really fell in love with, you know, the written word and the way staging is done and directing. So it was through theater and through the sort of the craft of it that I got sort of started. And then when the harder questions of how to make money came, then there's always you're always looking for it's Tuesday. How long am I going to do this job? You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's always kind of feast or famine, isn't it? Being an actor, and it's sort of bizarre, like how you'll have no work and then suddenly you'll get 4 job offers. So often you'll have to turn 3 down because they're all at the same time, so you have to pick one. I mean, it's so weird how that happens.
I'll tell you, Suanne, you're speaking directly to my heart, because that always happens to me. Nothing, and then 4 things on Friday, right? It's just really.
And then you have to pick one because you can't do them all. I mean, that's the thing that kills me. It's like, no.
And which one do you pick? How do you know?
Well, you know, that depends, doesn't it, where we are at the time.
That's right.
But I love that you were saying that sort of the spoken word and the written word was something that was really important to you, because pretty much from the moment that you graduated university, you have been the epitome of a jobbing working actor. Really, like looking over your resume, like you've just kind of consistently worked. Often you have made your own work, which I think is remarkable. And I love that theatre's played an important part of that. You were quite involved in Bard on the Beach initially. And then, you took a touring production to Prague. What was that production that you went to Prague with?
Wow, early days. So, right after university, right after graduating, I was involved with Bard on the Beach, which is the local Shakespeare festival. Back in those days, it was, I mean, it's still in Vanier Park, which if people are familiar with Vancouver, it's a beautiful spot. It's right on the ocean with the city in the background. And the production designers could choose which way the stage was oriented. So if it was like a city type play, if it was Merchant of Venice, they would feature the towers of the West End. Or if it was like a natural play like The Tempest, they could feature the ocean, right? And so it was very lovely.
Oh.
It's tremendous, Bard on the Beach. But back in those days, they didn't have enough money because we're theater, of course, to afford security companies. Yeah, right. Now they're a multi-million-dollar a year budget thing, but back then they couldn't afford security for the night. So actors would draw straws, and we would spend the night. We would rotate through the cast, and everyone would have to spend the night to ostensibly watch the place, but just to. And that was one of the most magical experiences, just spending the night, sleeping in the middle of the stage. And
wow.
5 in the morning, the sun's coming up over the city, and people are starting to walk their dogs, and you're there guarding the stage from all the dog walkers and everything. That was lovely. That was Bard on the Beach. And then shortly after that, I got together with one of my colleagues there, Christopher Weddle, and we rehearsed a play called Waiting for Godot, which was one of my favorite plays of all time. Samuel Beckett.
I could totally see you in that. Amazing.
Really? And I was younger then, but played Estragon, and we did a really good production of it. Like we really again talking about text based and found we spent a lot of time on it. And at that time, I had a girlfriend who was from Prague, and she said you should take this production to Europe. And she put me through to to a producer there. And I phoned them and I said, look, we've got a production of Waiting for Godot. And they brought me over. So they brought us over. So we did a little bit of fundraising here. I was ostensibly the producer of that. And it was quite the trip, because we got to Frankfurt and we were going to be picked up by a minibus to take. This is 1990, 91, really early days. And the minibus, it's one of those Ford Transits back, those old ones, was going to take us from Frankfurt into Prague, which before the highway was built, before the Autobahn was built, could be up to like 6-7 hours. Now it's like 4 hours. And it's an old truck. We get right to the Czech border and promptly break down can't really fix this with anything. So there was a Czech fella who came by and towed us on a rope. So we're like this Canadian theater company with our props in the back, with the Godot tree in the back, on a rope, going down into the. And so that was the arrival in the Czech Republic, like total hillbillies. Here we come. And so that started. That was my first time there with the theater. We did a tour of about 6 or 7 places, mostly in Prague, but we went on to Brno and all these other places. And I was just blown away by the theater in the Czech Republic. Is an entirely different thing than it is here in North America. People know it there. People go to it there. In Canada, the closest approximation would be the hockey teams. People know who's on them. They know who's playing. They know, and that was what theater was like there. They go, oh, let's go to this one. This is where these guys are, and I've seen these guys on TV. Let's go to these ones. So we were really well attended. I was surprised how well attended we are, because we were an English production also. In the Czech Republic, and people came out to see it. So that was Ironworks production, 1991's production of Waiting for Godot. Yeah.
That's extraordinary. And was that what prompted you to then stay? Did you kind of think, I'm digging this theatre thing and I'm going to spend a bit more time here?
Sort of. There's of course more hiccups along the way, but I had money stolen from me. We had to chase some people around. It got dramatic. Came back home to make up for the budget deficit, like thousands of dollars that we lost. And I got a call from one of the producers that had seen me in Prague. This is 93, maybe. I was back in Vancouver here working at a deli, I was chopping tomatoes, trying to make my money back. And they said, hey, would you like to come to Prague to take a role? And that was Stoppard's Royal Hunt of the Sun.
Oh, amazing. Great.
Long time ago. So, and I, about 6 months later, I showed up in Prague, and that was the beginning of the sort of the 9 years there. And it started with one role. Yeah. One part.
Amazing. And then during that time, you and 2 other people, 2 mates, colleagues, decided to form a theatre company called Misery Loves Company. I'm beginning to think that from the money being stolen and the car being stolen, that was the inspiration for the name.
Misery Loves Company. If it doesn't hurt, it ain't funny. That was our
exactly.
That was our byline. That was a tremendous one of those sort of magical moments where just the right group of people came together. We were, I mean, Prague in the 90s was like, you know, Hemingway's Paris. It was like a movable feast. It was fantastic. There's people from all over the world. It was opening up. There were economic opportunities. There were, I mean, rent was, I was paying $150 a month for the suite that I was in. So, you know, you can work in the theater, and I made my money translating films. I was doing subtitles for films and doing stuff like that. And a lot of our other actors in Misery were teaching English, for example, or writing in. So it was just this great sort of amalgam of expats from everywhere, from New Zealand, South Africa. We had Americans, I was Canadian, of course, Czech Canadian. And we did, we founded in 1994 and did like 17 productions between then and sort of when we disbanded and, you know, got married, and Jimmy quit, Jody got married.
But you did, I mean, you did some big shows, you know, Midsummer Night's Dream, The Irresistible Rise of Arturo Ui,
that was really cool.
The Sun Waiting for Godot. How is it, and you directed some of those as well, how was that working with Czech actors? Is it the same, or do you find it slightly different?
It's a great question, because it's you know what it's like, Suanne, when the craft works, when you've got and it's a wonderful thing. You're also in for lack of a better word, a monoculture. Everyone in Czech is Czech. So there's a sort of a common language. I find theater in North America, particularly, you have to sort of go, this is my culture, this is what I'm saying, do you understand me? There's a more of a polyculture thing. So the language sometimes of theater, it needs to be developed or this. But whereas it's kind of like if everybody knows Chekhov's Seagull, you can kind of do riffs on it. Do you know what I mean? You can kind of, if it's a well-known thing culturally, then you start playing around with it, right? And so that was what I really liked as a director there, is that you could sort of, there was this sort of quick shorthand. You could sort of go, that's kind of like when you know, Macbeth does this, or and that's kind of what. So there was a really good sort of style of communication, and there was really good visual riskiness, you know, in the 90s, before all the computer and video sort of stuff came in. We were playing a lot with light and natural materials, sand, water, fire on stage, that kind of stuff. So that was always really cool to do.
I mean, it is fascinating though, because when I first moved to the UK, I did a co-production between some French actors and some English actors, and they wanted English actors who could speak French, which, you know, je parle français. I mean, I understand a lot, mais je parle un peu. And I could understand, and I said, look, I'm English speaking, but I'm South African. Anyway, it was all fine, but we had like English writers and French writers, and then French actors and English actors. And it was fascinating to me, because obviously the English actors all kind of approached it very much like, sorry, Daniel, do you mind if I was just thinking, do you mind if I go this way? I feel like the character might, and the French guys would be like, that's bullshit. Why am I doing that? It's so stupid. Why would I want to do that? It makes no sense. Why do I go out and come back in? I don't want to do that. I think I should just stand here.
Exactly.
Constant. And so I just wondered.
Isn't that fascinating? Like the difference between doing it and talking about doing it.
Yes, exactly. And a completely different attitude. And that's always sort of stayed with me. I love that. So I was very interested to see if that was your experience.
With working in Europe, is the sort of the multiculturalism is closer for all the different types of theaters. Italian theater, the Swiss theater. Here, you know, on this side of the pond, it's, you know, the great American theaters on Broadway, and then all the regionals all over the place. But we're all, you know, one sort of English language theater. Now the voices are, you know, very interesting. They're amplifying sort of marginalized voices, BIPOC, and that's great. That's the power of theater, to hear stories that you don't normally hear, and that's just sort of evolving now to give a voice to all those people. But working in it as a craft, right? product irrespective, whatever it is that you're making, there is a way that we as actors work, and that was a really fun process to work in that multiculturalism, as you said, like, you know, different actors and different ways of doing it. It's cool.
And what a great thing to have done in your life, you know. So what prompted the move back to Canada at that stage then? Was it
well, this is about 10 years that we were there, and as what developed is that so with Misery we started to sort of attract a group of English-speaking actors that to this day friends of mine from all over the world, and it was sort of coincided the time mid-90s, late 90s, as American and British and German productions started to come in and wanted English-speaking actors. And there was no casting system, there was no agents, there was no nothing. So the phone would ring, and I, as the artistic director, I'd get the phone call and I'd go, "Do you have any actors?" And I was like,
"Yeah.
Do we have any actors?"
Let me just check.
Hello, yes. So that's where I started some of the earlier shows that were filmed in Prague, like some of the Movies of the Week and Hidden in Silence and those ones. Notably, there was a fella, an outfit called North American Pictures, which had rented a potato storage facility about 70 kilometers south of Prague, and proceeded to churn out about 5, 6. Let's call them action movies.
Right.
Yeah, you know, featuring ladies with not too many clothes, that kind of stuff. You know, those
yes,
kind of,
the straight to video.
Straight to video, those kind of things. So like, yeah. Hacker Jack 2 or
I have been in a few of those myself.
Yes.
With my clothes on. Well, actually, one of them, no, but
yes. Well, see, it's the job. You got to do what the job is. Right?
Exactly, and it's brilliant training when you're young. You know, you're like, yes. Okay, I paid me. I'll go that chore. You know.
Oh, the technical training was fantastic, and like learning how to do all the stuff that came in handy later on Stargate, like squibs and little stunts and
exactly
how to run on camera, those kind of stuff, those kind of things.
Yeah. Oh, which is a big thing. There are a lot of actors who don't know how to run on camera.
It's not something you can train for, you know. It's like you have to kind of do it when you're.
And I think it's also a weird thing. There was a fantastic interview with Jamie Dornan, who was talking about when he finally got cast as whatever the character's name, and Christian Grey or whatever his name is in 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
And he has to be this unbelievable sort of sexy Lothario, gorgeous man, which he's terribly good looking. But he walks on the balls of his feet, and the director apparently was like, "What are you doing?" And he went, "What do you mean? What am I doing? This is my walk." Which was like, that's a terrible Northern Irish accent. And she was like, "You can't walk like that. You have to look manly and that." And so he had to learn to walk. And he's like, for years, he said, "I've been walking on my toes. I just thought that's how you walk." And he said, ever since then, like he looks back now at stuff from the fall that he did before he was famous, and he was like, "Oh my God, every time I run in that, I just want to hide because it's so awful."
the things that you learn to do. It's like the famous story with Darth Vader, right? When they get the Welsh actor David Prowse, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
And you know, and he's the big hulking presence, and he goes, "Oh, hello, how are you?" This can't be done. Like when they got James Earl Jones to dub him, right? It's how you walk. Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like you're in demand. I hope that's your phone making this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's just dinging and stuff. I should.
No, that's fine. As long as it's, you know, I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to tempt fate.
No, yeah, no, right. No. So you're doing this on your phone? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So at the moment it's balanced, and I'm just looking every now and then. I sort of feel like this bride. I look a little Bride of Frankenstein-y because, of course, my light is not in the right place. It's all tilted.
Suanne, stop.
It's not about me.
Stop.
Back to you. So you go back to Canada, and as I said, you kind of just take off. You start working pretty much immediately. You guest stars, little bits here and there. Joan of Arc. I love that miniseries, by the way. The Scarlet Pimpernel. Yeah.
Those were still in Prague. Ah, Yeah, those are still in Prague. Scarlet Pimpernel, Joan of Arc. Yeah, that's right. That was when I played Shirley MacLaine's son. Yeah, on and she hit me so hard. She's supposed to backhand me, and we go to the setup, and it's Shirley MacLaine, and I'm like junior actor, and she shows up in this Chanel pantsuit and was just like, "Is this my light?" And I'm, whoa, okay, yeah. So she was in control of the set, and she's supposed to come in and see the horrible conditions that I keep Joan of Arc. I have kept Joan of Arc in as her sort of fey son. I'm a little bit that way. And she sees the conditions and is supposed to smack me. And she decided that she would go in, hit the light, see the thing, and then just backhand me without looking at me. Except she had a massive ring. She had a massive, massive prop ring. And I was kind of going, and everyone was like, "Yes, Miss MacLaine. Yes, Miss MacLaine. That's what we'll do. Yes, Miss MacLaine." And I was like, "Is it okay?
Yeah.
Do you mind if?" Oh man, no.
If I lose an eye, or do we keep?
Yeah, is it okay if I think she did take the ring off. I think one of the ADs kind of went, let's not kill the actor. But she whacked. I could feel it in my heels. I mean, it was like like my jaw. I was like, okay. She was old school.
Did you have to do multiple takes of that, or were you able to at least
yeah, I don't actually remember, but I just remember getting socked by Shirley MacLaine. So that's
you lost consciousness after that. But,
that was Joan. That was Joan of Arc. Yeah. Lily Sobietsky. That was the girl that was. Yeah, she played.
Yes. She is so talented. I think she stopped acting now, but she's a talented.
Oh, did she? I didn't know that. Okay, well, very well.
I think so. I read somewhere recently that she kind of decided it wasn't for her. I mean, she did. She had a good career, and then she just went, "No, I want to raise my kids and have a normal life for a while." And who knows, maybe she'll come back to it. I wanted to ask you, because I actually remember seeing this, and I loved it when it came out because I was obsessed with Robin Williams. But you did a film called Behind the Camera, the unauthorized biography of Mork and Mindy, in which you play a real character. You played John Byner.
Yes.
How was that? Like, was that odd playing somebody who's still
around?
That
was, you're reaching back. I had almost forgotten about that one. Yeah, John Byner, that was it. Well, anytime there's been once since then that I played someone actually just recently, my only pandemic gig, I played a fellow that's, and I looked him up, and when you see them and you go, I don't look anything like that.
You're like, what?
You're casting me as that? Really? Okay. And then there's this, I guess there was back then some kind of a resemblance, and geez, help me out here. He was a stand-up comedian back then, I think, and this is 15
all
years
sort of part
ago.
of that whole gang, the Belushi and Robin
and the producer was what was the name of the producer of those Mork and Mindy shows? That's what the show was about.
Was it Gary Marshall?
Oh, that's it, Gary Marshall. Yes, very good, very good. Good call. You win trivia tonight, Suanne. Yeah, it was a movie about Gary Marshall, and it was playing like a live character in that. But this loops back to a question you asked earlier. So after returning from Prague, that was you sort of said I started working right away. It was tough because to come from an environment where it was so theater rich and a lot of work to come to North America and to try to set that up. It took several years and part-time jobs. I worked part-time in a genetics company and different sort of bits and pieces until really Stargate came along. And even then when it happened, when Zlanker first came along, I wasn't sure that this was going to be any more than just a day play gig, right? I didn't get extended any kind of the options that I've since learned are the things to do. I was just happy for the role, and they kept wanting to have me around. So, and that wasn't really until, when was Stargate? 03, 04, something like that was when it started. And we came back to like just before 9/11. So it was like 3 or 4 years in there of struggle.
Yeah, it's so hard when you have to start again. I've done it twice now. I left South Africa and had to start kind of afresh in California, and then I left LA after like 10-11 years and had to come here to the UK and was 10-11 years older and kind of had to start at the bottom again. And so I know precisely what you're talking about. It's very
tough, isn't it? And it's almost like you have to redefine yourself, not only personally but also through as you're getting older and appropriately for the place that you're at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned Stargate there. So let's talk about Stargate.
Stargate?
Yeah, it's such a. I mean, it just came.
Is that what these pillars are?
So I know.
I'm just going to ask you before you ask me. Am I in your temple? Is this what these pillars are? Is this your temple?
You are in my temple. I've deigned you worthy, so you are in my temple.
Okay. Am I behaving appropriately? Okay. I'm wearing shorts. I don't know if that's.
You only have to panic when I start breathing on you.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, so I know that
you don't have COVID, do you?
Yes, I know. Oh, God, that's the problem. They won't be able to do anything for the next 10 years where a character has anything to do with breathing.
I know. Isn't it so weird? And you see crowd scenes. It's funny. They put a little byline there, filmed before COVID. It's like, oh, look at all those people in one room together.
I know. And I keep seeing things from like Glastonbury just 3 years ago and going, oh, I can't unsee it now.
Horror.
I mean,
it's the stuff we crave now, though, is the crowded rooms. I just watched something with on Jeremiah Tower, the American cook, and all these things about the great restaurants that he started, and all these people in a big room having fun and eating, and just looking at it, going like, "What world is that?"
I know, and like, do I want to go back, but I also don't. I'm like,
yeah. A few more
anyway, so I know for a fact you went into audition and you didn't audition for the role that you eventually played. Who did you originally audition for?
Dun, dun, dun. Should we open this up to trivia?
Yes, we can try. I mean, I don't know if I can do anything on my phone here, but if I'm sure I see that there are messages, but I'm too scared to push them in case I disconnect.
I see. Well, then perhaps let's not go off script here, or let's not go off of whatever that is that we're doing.
Off piste, yeah.
Off piste. PT is a ski analogy. Okay, well, let's wait for some answers to flood in, and I'll 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, if there are any answers, maybe Drew and Catherine can bring them up if anybody knows who. Yes, Eva's on it.
Eva Lipenska, ahoy Evo. Eva caught it. So you know what? I'm gonna actually throw a little wrench in the works here, because there was one role that I auditioned before Beckett on the original SG1. I didn't even know what the show was on your show, Suanne. And I remember phoning my agent going, how do you pronounce this? T-E-A-L apostrophe C? Tal?
What is
Tal? And he told me it's pronounced Teal'c. It was just some scientists for I don't remember, I have no idea what it was for SG1. And then shortly after that, there was a call for Scottish accent for Beckett. I don't know why they thought Paul McGillian can do a better one than I can. But,
no, I don't know why.
I don't know why. I don't know. And so they went on to do the pilot. I did not appear in the pilot, and along comes episode 102 or 103, just shortly after that, of Atlantis. Yeah. And it calls for a Russian Eastern European. It's all the same pile.
Yeah, exactly.
Astrophysicist, just someone that speaks a little bit like this and is into astrophysics.
Yes.
So it was the role of. It was the role of Karpov, which I have the sides.
Karpov. No, have you?
I was filing through all my old stuff, and I found out this is the audition I got Atlantis on. So I kept that.
And he was originally Dr. Karpov.
Piece of paper. I have my my little Stargate corner up there. I don't know if you can.
Cool.
Can't see anything.
Yeah.
There's a couple of my things. So it was Karpov. It was a Russian character, and I did the audition, and I just said that I'm Czech. That's kind of all I said. That I did this, and it was the scene where I'm doing with Tori, and I just remember one of the things that clicked into my head: don't be all busy down here, be up here. So I chose to do it up here, and I think they could see me. Good. That's what I like to think, is I think they could see my eyes, so they and then Brad, the day of, I did the one scene, and I met Brad, and he says, "Oh, this is great. We're looking for like an Eastern European sort of," because at that time Rodney, David Hewlett's character, had all the tech talk, and they kind of wanted to split it so that it's always easier to do it as a dialogue than to do it as a monologue, and so they were looking for some foil sort of to work with them. And I said, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's." And I told him my only Czech joke that I know, which is can't introduce a joke without telling it, right?
Yes, no.
So a Czech guy goes to his optometrist, and the optometrist says, "Cover your eye," and read the lines. And the guy covers his eye, and he goes, T K K K L Q B Z Z S N M. And the optometrist goes, "This is great. You can read that." He goes, "Read that. I know him."
Oh, boom,
Thank
boom.
you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're
Thank you.
here
That's the internet. That's the internet breaking up over there. So I told Brad Pitt that joke. So I don't know if that's cost me.
I love
and
that.
then I found myself in the next script.
That is brilliant. Sorry, I was just trying to see. My screen has suddenly gone very dark, and I'm not sure why, but I can still see you.
We've got
so
you.
we'll just keep going until
you see you look great.
So I love that they changed your character because they originally he was going to be Russian, and then they decided to make him Czech because of you. Did you have anything else that you could add to the melange before you started filming, or did it kind of evolve as you went along?
It evolved. I think it evolved, as you know, as the writers for Stargate tended to sort of find where your strengths are and the things that work, and write for that. The overriding thing that I loved about the way they put it together is the sense of humor in Stargate. The sort of the lightness, the fact that we're telling stories for grown-ups doesn't mean that we can't have fun doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I like that sort of aspect of it, and that's that kind of playfulness and that kind of those sort of throwaway lines, and that was really fun to do with David. You know, that kind of chemistry that was set up, or that they had for us, the sort of the megalomaniacal, well, David Hewlett, and you know, and then just working with him.
But speaking of the chemistry, that is something that is very evident. I mean, it was a stroke of genius, I think, on their behalf to have this kind of Mutt and Jeff, this like scientific double act, you know?
Yeah.
And you guys really, really do kind of bounce off each other so well. Was that chemistry kind of instant, or did you know each other from before? No, indeed.
It's one of those things that happen sometimes in acting. You must have that too, also, when you get the character that you can work off of, and someone that it makes your job, it takes your job away. It's so easy. You just talk to that person, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what it was with David. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's it. That's the same thing.
Yeah, and it really shows, I think, because there was this wonderful kind of sort of push pull, give and take thing all the time, and I think that was terrific. It really, really worked. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's the basis of good drama, right? Like, I mean, if we were friends and if we got along, there wouldn't be any kind of resistance. That, you know, and this was an identifiable thing, the unsufferable boss, exactly. You know, and then I got to mutter in Czech, which was also another fun thing that I got to put in all manner. Yeah.
So you got to improvise quite a lot in Czech. So can you share with us what you were saying? Some of it, I mean, or was most of it swearing?
Oh, well, we're on the internet, so I can fucking say anything I fucking want, right? Oh, sorry, people. But what I mean is that, it was full on do prdele and Ježiši Maria, I'm trying do prdele, all that kind of stuff. Full on Czech curse words. And it was a delight to be able to not have anybody understand what they are and get past all of the censors, because you could say all that stuff and nobody even knew what was going on, except for the Czechs, and they loved it because that's fun. It's fun to be able to. My question was when I got there, is they dubbed me, right? They dub all the characters on Stargate. So if they dub me into Czech and then I start speaking Czech in the production track, how do they just mute me and then have me talk? And funny. Have you ever seen yourself speak in different languages? Have you ever seen yourself speak in different languages, like the Spanish Suanne and the Portuguese and the Swedish?
It's really weird. I had two situations. One was I saw the French woman who plays Hathor, who looks nothing like me, but like had a really great voice. I was like, oh, that's all right. Don't mind that.
I met my French number as well. Merci, bonjour. Yes.
Oui, bonjour, bonsoir. And when I was in, Chris and I were on a honeymoon in Egypt. And before dinner one evening, he suddenly came and grabbed me and went, oh, my God, you're on TV. And there was Hathor in Egypt, in an Egyptian hotel. There we were. And it was the episode. And there I was speaking Egyptian. And that was just trippy. I mean, it was so
insane. You were actually in Egypt when you saw yourself playing Egyptian, dubbed in Egyptian.
Yeah. It was so weird. And then I told the story recently on the show, but like the next day, our guide, who had been a bit disinterested in us the day before, she was a bit like, you know. And I kept saying to her, because everywhere we went, there were symbols for Hathor, that kind of the horns and And I asked her if she ever watched, you know, American television because I'd played, and she was like, no. Oh, and okay. And the next morning she came to get us and she was like, oh my God, I see you last night on the television. You are goddess. You're so hi. You are Hathor. So it was brilliant.
Brilliant. And she lied. She does watch American television, obviously.
Exactly. Well, she said her brother had it on, so who knows? But you know, but yeah, it's really bizarre.
Terrific. It's really funny when that kind of stuff happens, and you go, "Wow, I can't believe it. What a job!"
Exactly. I mean, I've had to do it too. I had to. I did a big Russian film, a Disney project called The Last Warrior in English. It was massively successful, and I dubbed the evil queen. Who, it was a fantastic part. Her name was Varvara. But what was really interesting, she was a very young, beautiful woman, but she had all these lines like, you know, off with his head, get him out of here. But her delivery was very still. Everything was like, I'm going to kill him now. And I found it really difficult because it was, as an actress, it went against what I would have done. Yeah. And of course, you have to match what's on the screen and, you know, make the sound fit her mouth, but in an American accent. Anyway, I digress. So you were improvising away in Czech, which I love. And I absolutely love the video message that you do as Zlanker. And they were originally going to do that in English as well and then change their minds, right?
Yeah, right. That's a good story too. Yeah. So that was epic director Mario Azzopardi. I don't know if he directed.
We love Mario.
Do you know Mario? He's Maltesian and looked like Rasputin, just this big brick shithouse guy, great guy. And he was, you know what was wrong with that take? It was boring. He was great that way. He was great that way. And so Mario Azzopardi, the way he figured Letters for Pegasus was that we need to bring up the internationalism of Stargate Atlantis. It's supposed to be an international team. So I want you to take this paragraph. And basically, it's called a bottle show, right? They have all these videotapes. They have all these expensive effects that they've paid for. So let's use them again. And so in our case, it was the city emerging from the waters, the famous.
Yeah, which is very impressive.
It is very. And of course, the text was, look at the city rising up through the waters. It was amazing. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And it's the first rule of filmmaking is don't describe what you're seeing on screen, right? Don't describe. Yeah. So Mario said, do it in Czech. And I said, okay, I'll translate it. So I took it home that night, took that paragraph and I wrote it in Czech and learned it in Czech and learned it in English. And I was like, really? Fuck. Yeah. So yeah, I'll learn it in English. That's, you know, you don't want to learn an extra freaking paragraph when you're the night before, right? You want to go to sleep. So I learned the thing. First thing in the morning, 6 a.m., set up, puts the camera up, and let's do the Czech version first. So I did the Czech version, the city's going up or anything, and thank you very much. I said, let's do the English one. He says, no. He wanted to force the hand of the editors to use the Czech version and not have the English version available. So it was just a red herring for me to learn that. So that was only the Czech version filmed. That was all they had to use, so they wouldn't chicken out and use the English version, and that's what's in the film. And it's basically just the Czech description of what's going on with the.
Yeah, but I think it's all the richer for it because you don't need to know what's being said. You can tell by your face. Yeah. You know, if you've watched the episode, you're like, yeah, I kind of get it. I don't need to know every single word. I get exactly what's happening.
I'm starting to notice that on TV more, that the more international shows start coming in, there's parts where they're speaking in Arabic and they don't put the subtitles in. It's like, okay, what's going on? And
I know, I love that.
I do too. You get more comfortable with sort of like, because that's what life is like. It's like, what do they say? What are they talking about?
Exactly. And then also it forces you to really go, what is happening? And not just be reading it.
Yeah.
On the set of Atlantis, what was the vibe or the atmosphere like? Because like SG1 was well known for all its pranks, particularly RDA and Chris Judge.
Yeah.
Was it a fun set? Were there lots of pranks?
Yeah, it was a fun set. It was. That's one of the things I loved about Stargate. It was really fun to go to work. Now, as a recurring character, you're not there every day, so I wasn't party to the sort of the goings on of what happens. The daily sort of stuff, but the general sort of sense of it was a lot of fun, especially in the early days in the second and third season, just and again mostly working with David. So that's who I saw. I didn't really interact with too many of their cast members until I started getting scenes with them. Like very little with Rachel, as wonderful as she is. I wish I would have had more scenes with them. Only a few with Jason Momoa. It was really fun when we did have scenes, because he was always fun to hang around with. But and then some with Joe. But otherwise, no, it was mostly just sort of showing up with and it was David usually is what it was. And we were fooling around and being in it. Although I did hear what the kind of stuff going on in your set too. And the fire.
I mean, I was fine with it. I probably today they would get into a bit of trouble, but
yeah, we had a little bit. There's a couple of being called upstairs for inappropriate behavior,
slightly naughty behavior. But you must have, I mean, because as you said, like they never told you from show to show, and I think that's something a lot of people don't understand about actors. People often say to me like, oh, the new Indiana Jones film is casting, why don't you get an audition? You're like, it doesn't quite work like that. And so when you do get a recurring thing, you don't always know if it's going to be 1 or 2, or in your case, 54 episodes. I mean, they just kept
Exactly. And I mean, I think it's because, that way, if you know that you might not be around, you're just you're much more careful about, I think that's just the way the producers work, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, did you have any idea that Zlanker would become a kind of firm fan favorite and so loved?
Well, no, I don't know. I just sort of showed up for work and enjoyed doing it. Of course, I kept hoping that it would carry on, and it was always very positive to hear back from the fans. But those were the early days before Facebook and there was any kind of metric to sort of bounce off of. We would hear that the numbers are very good, like the Nielsen numbers, and most of that's as growing up as an actor, that's what you hear in TV the most. Now it's views and different things like that. Right?
Isn't it? I mean, the whole Nielsen, the way they do it, it's so antiquated to me to like stick a bunch of people in a room and go, do you like this? And if not enough people say yes, then that's your show gone.
And that's a show gone. And it must be, I mean, think of the investment that people put into some good shows that just get swept away from being, Firefly is a great example of that, how great shows were swept away before they had a chance to gain any traction. And particularly character-rich shows where you've got good characters and you got character development. I mean, imagine if shows like Better Call Saul or those things, before you got a chance to get to know the characters were pulled, because it's all in the subtlety in some of those shows.
Yeah, it's a slow burn, and I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yes, I agree.
I was going to ask, you are a firm favorite at conventions. Do you enjoy conventions and meeting fans?
Yeah, I do.
Me too.
I miss the travel. And quite frankly, seeing you and our colleagues and I can't not mention Cliff at this point. I haven't talked about that yet, and it's something that it just pulled the carpet from underneath me. I never expressed that, but I'd see him at conventions, and it was one of my favorite things to be able to go to a convention, and then Cliff is there. It's just like one of those. It's one of those things, and it's just. You think that I'll see you at the next one, kind of a thing, right? So,
and it still feels very, very surreal. And doing this job, because obviously each week I look into actors' lives and things, and I was saying to somebody, I knew Cliff from the time I was 20.
Yeah.
And actually, somebody posted a picture. I reposted it, but of us from probably one of the first jobs we both did together in South Africa.
Yes.
When he still had a full head of black hair.
Yeah.
And we're such babies, but like
I know. I remember was it the tour in New Zealand or Australia where all the Time Lords were? It was Peter and Clint. It was great to see. It was what an awesome tour that was, right?
Wasn't it? Armageddon. I absolutely loved it, and Armageddon excited to do it again. I would love to. That's a terrible joke.
Hi Bill. Hi Bill. Hi Bill. Yeah, anytime. Can you imagine? That'd be great.
Come back.
Please.
I would so love to. Do you think, would you be interested in revisiting Zlanker if the new series of Stargate happens?
What is there? Okay, I get this question, and
I mean, you're asking me.
Yeah, right. Don't you, yeah, I
Brown.
know. Why do they ask the actors if it's going to go on? Well,
It's like we're the last people to know.
The last people to know. I mean, it's Zlanker 20 years later. This is what the reality is. So yeah, if they ask me, then I'm sure it would probably be a time traveling, some kind of thing. But yeah, I would come back to a good role. But I mean, if they're gonna go back and do Stargate, they're gonna do The Next Generation, aren't they?
I mean, I don't know. I've seen snippets on the internet and heard little bits that Joe Malozzi has said. And, one of the things that was mentioned is that they are interested in continuing the story and that using some people from the original series. But, who knows? Who knows? But
who knows?
It's fun.
It's fun to speculate, but, it's onwards and upwards with our job. What's whatever's
Absolutely.
next.
Absolutely. And one of the lovely things about being a kind of recurring star is that you can do lots of other things, which indeed you did, because during your time on Atlantis, you were kept busy doing a multitude of other appearances on Merlin's Apprentice, Psych, Eureka, lots of sci-fi fantasy credits like Fringe, Continuum, Once Upon a Time. Do you enjoy working in the kind of fantasy sci-fi genre?
It enjoys me, I think, is maybe the question. If I'm sitting on a horse, it's a Western. If there's fluorescent tubes around, it's sci-fi. It's kind of, the content is almost irrelevant. I don't choose it by content. I choose it by the work, or I go because it's a job, a sort of thing.
Exactly.
It's more of I think of a product of Vancouver, which is quite well known as being sci-fi. It's going comic book now, or Arrow, Flash, Riverdale, that kind of thing. So it's the productions up here, and during COVID, we've sort of slowly been kept going throughout the pandemic. So there's shows that are still happening, and sci-fi was sort of the flavor of the month 10 years ago. Now there's not too many going on here in terms of that.
So perfect time to bring it back. Or to bring something back.
Right. I think you're right.
Did you ever have a situation when you were working that you had to do sort of two different jobs on the same day? When Elena Huffman was on the show, she was like, oh my God, I had days where I was like running from Universe to...
It's funny that you mentioned that, because Eureka was the day for me. I had a gig on Eureka and I had the same day, and they don't like to do that at all. Literally across the street, the freeway dissects the Bridge Studios and Vancouver Film Studios. It's across the street. And I was like, please, please, please. And it was only because I had I'd had a well-developed relationship with the ADs, and it was the episode Sunday where I'm playing chess, I believe, in Atlantis. And so it was and I said, just let me go over. And it was just a pickup that I needed to do over there on the Eureka set. But yeah, some of that stuff is pretty hectic. It speaks to a busy actor, which is lovely. I'd love to do that again. But it's also speaks to the four things at once: nothing, 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 and then it all comes at once, which is also like, really, guys, you couldn't do it on Tuesday and Wednesday. They both have to be at Tuesday at 3 p.m. Both.
Yeah. So it's so mad, that, isn't it? It's really bizarre.
It is.
And before we move on from Atlantis, do you have any favorite episodes or moments? Things that for you that you walked away going, "Wow, that was an amazing day on set," or...
I would do that quite a bit. I'd come home from and sort of play it through in my head what the day was like, and the choices that you make, the second guessing that I should have done that with the line. But by and large, it was always a pleasure. I mean, I liked working with David. There was some of the tech stuff, like working on Adrift when we were suspended on and those marionettes, those zero gravity stuff. That was really fun to...
That was cool.
Yeah, that stuff is fun to work on, and when you do all that, and all the way they do the effects, isn't that amazing? You go there and just green paint.
Did you have to pretend to be in zero gravity? Were you doing the old?
Fortunately, no. They did a thing where they overcranked the camera, so the camera's at 60 frames a second, so that just it slows down naturally. It gives you that sort of in space look where all the But that was the technical education around the way the sci-fi is done. Even when they would take a shot of, with the gate is in the background and they're taking a shot of people, and it's just Mylar. it's basically foil that they're just to make the gate effect, you know. And it's just you think this is some big expensive sci-fi show, and they're just shaking tinfoil around, right?
But it's still, I was like, the first time I had to go through it, I was still kind of like, oh, it's still quite exciting. You know, there was something like, and then like when they played, there was one time, I can't remember why, but they played the music, like the theme tune. And I had to go, I don't know, I can't remember why that happened. And maybe I've remembered it incorrectly because it's so many years ago now. But I do have this very vivid memory of like stepping through the gate with the music and the foils going and feeling like I was, you know, the shit.
Yeah. It was fun. I would do that on set too. I was standing in the gate and I'd kind of go, step through, nothing.
Yes. I know, what's going on? It's not working today. The Wi-Fi's down.
I gotta change the crystals. I gotta do something with the ZPM or something.
And how do you, like with Zlanker, was a lot of it on the page, or did you kind of create the character? Do you think, like, how much of it was there to begin with? I guess, was he in a kind of total package to begin with, or did they kind of then tailor him to?
It's always 50-50, isn't it? I mean, you get the part, you see the character name, and you go, okay, what am I going to do with this? And then you do what you can with it. And then if the writers are paying attention, or if they're in there, then you get they start writing for you, right? It's when you stop doing the accent, you start talking a little differently, and you start removing prepositions, and you don't do contractions, and there's a different way of talking and they would write for that eventually, with the sort of exasperation with Rodney and that sort of thing, and it's sort of, they see what you do, you take what they write, but every now and then they'll throw you like a curveball, like he's raising pigeons now, or you know, chess expert, and you go, okay, I guess that's what I am now. They ultimately make up what your world is, but you take it and do it with it what you can. That's your job as an actor, right? Service the script.
Yeah.
Text space. Come back to the written word. This is where we started.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Sanctuary, you got to work with the wonderful Amanda Tapping, the Grand Empress of Sci-Fi, who we love.
Yes, who we do. Yes, on Sanctuary, and also on in an episode of Atlantis. Carry on, sorry.
Yes, of course, yes. And was she Pegasus? Was she in that as well? Yes, Pegasus Project. Was that SG1?
Okay. Is it the name of it? Pegasus sounds familiar. I don't remember the names of the episodes.
Somebody will tell us.
Okay. Some people tell us they're right. They're probably right. Yes, yes, it was lovely, and she was as a director later in her later too. And oh yeah, Amanda. I mean, how can you not love Amanda? How who doesn't love Amanda?
No one. Nobody.
No one.
I've really never met anyone gone. Never.
Impossible. It's impossible to. I consider myself lucky to have had that scene. It was a really fun scene, and it's really fun to work with. Like as I said earlier, it's fun to work with good actors that you just have a natural rapport with, and it was effortless with her. So that was a lot of fun. Makes your job a lot easier.
It must feel a little bit like kind of coming home with family, you know, because you know each other and there's a rapport instantly and a kind of relaxed feeling. You're in good hands. You kind of instantly
that would be the great thing about our reboot, is that if some people we would have that thing to come back to, you know, that group. Yeah. Because we've seen each other at conventions in the years interim, right? So.
Yes, exactly. And I do feel like everyone from Stargate really, really gets on. Like it's quite an extraordinary thing. I mean, I think I've said this for weeks every time I do this show, but like honestly, it is a rare thing, and the actors genuinely seem to like each other.
Yeah, and that's saw your list of all the people that you've and all these good friends, Mike Dopwood, Peter Williams.
Exactly.
Oh, you know, it's great. It's great people. All the guys. Yeah. You get all the guys, Suanne.
I get all the guys and some of the girls. But I have to say, when I was watching the episode of Sanctuary, because I was like, and I did have a bit of a giggle, because there's a moment when they're on the plane and they're getting the vials and everything, and she scrapes off the ice, and the name on the vial is Braun. I was like, oh, how freaky! Isn't that weird? So it made me laugh yesterday. I thought, I must tell you that.
It's amazing that you watch that. No, I don't think I've even seen that episode. Yeah, of Sanctuary. Yeah. We crash in the Kush. We crash in the air in the
in the outer regions.
Outer regions of monsterhood. Yeah. Oh, cool. Well,
Uh,
you're so well prepared, Suanne. This is amazing.
oh well, thank you, thank you. I do try. I do try. I find it fascinating because every week, like literally from the time I've started doing this, and it's been a year and a half now. I took a bit of a break, but I sort of did 26 shows, and then I took a break, and now we've come back for 8 more. And
Wow.
every week there are surprises in actors' work. And your big surprise for me was dun, 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 your episodes of Supernatural. Lester Morris, your creepy turn as Lester Morris. And I was really quite riveted. I mean, he gave me the heebie-jeebies, and that's amazing because I know you. So tell me about that. How did that role come your way?
That's fun that you saw that. That's amazing. I haven't even seen that one either. Well, that was cool. Because
you must watch it. You're very, very, very good in it.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, happy to hear. I should see it. I haven't seen it. But what I remember about filming that is of course, the boys, right? They are a cultural phenomenon. And,
really
pity the actor that doesn't realize that. I mean, I knew that they were, I mean, this was season 10, I think. So yeah, you don't get to season 10 by, and they're great guys to work with also, which goes without saying. But
one of them directed 4 episodes, didn't he? Or one of the episodes.
Yes, he was actually directing, which one? Jared, the guy that directed. Jensen, yeah, he was directing. And, I just remember when the shuttle dropped me off on set. It was a very quiet neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the morning, middle of the night, one of those shoots, and there was this gaggle of people standing around, and it was the scene where we're in the kitchen. I sort of thought, this is weird. I don't remember any extras being in the scene. It's just a small scene between 2 people. Well, of course, they weren't extras. They were fans of the show that had shown up at set at 2 o'clock in the morning in a quiet little neighborhood, and I sort of thought, wow. This is a show with some pretty hardcore fans to be watching the filming of this at this time. But again, you're working with actors that do the show every day for 10 years, and it's just magic. It just comes off like butter. It's a lot of fun. And then the drunk scene was really fun. We're drunk in the bar, and that was just a creepy, gross little character. It was really fun to get into.
What was so interesting for me is that he was, because he's very different, obviously, to who you are, which is the great thing about a character. But he is creepy, but you somehow also made him. I was quite like when he meets his end. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it.
It's Supernatural. There's no spoilers for that.
Yeah, your rather gruesome ending. There was something sort of quite moving about him as well. Like I think that is absolutely the true talent of an actor, because if you're playing someone who is slightly reprehensible and hideous, and we don't give a shit, then you don't give a shit. You haven't done your job properly. Whereas with this, I was like, because you have that lovely, there's like a little moment with him when he's talking to you about, if you're going to kill your wife, don't come to the hit. Don't be such a knob.
Don't be such a knob to come to the hit. Yeah, it's called Alibi. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I know what an alibi is.
You were just great. Really surprising. Did you enjoy playing that sort of like slightly creepy?
Oh yeah. I think bad characters are, ever since Dante's Inferno, the devil is way more interesting than the hero, right? It's always better to be. It's always better to be that. And I like to think that, I'm glad that you noticed that. I like to find that there's always something redeeming in the character, and there's no such thing as a bad character, just someone that made different choices. Yeah,
exactly. And always to them, they are making the choices that they believe to be the right choices.
Exactly.
So, we are not the actor should never judge the character.
Should never judge the character. You gotta just do it.
Yeah. Exactly. So speaking of extraordinary characters that go on quite the arc, let's talk about your character in Arrow. So you came in, I think, was it season 2 that you started, 2013? I can't. Is it season 2?
Mm-hmm.
And originally just described as prisoner. And you told a lovely story that you were you read it and you were like, I don't know if I want to go do this audition.
Yeah, I was away, and it was back when you would actually go to auditions, and it was just me traveling back to the city and doing this for a role called Prisoner. on a show called Arrow, and I sort of thought, Arrow's been around for a while. It was already season 2. It looks like it will go on for a while. Let's not burn ourselves out on you know, the old actor.
Yeah,
You've had that conversation. Yeah, for one thing. And there was just something about that, and you can sort of around 102, 103, 20, when you're sort of at the top of the season and they might be casting around. Well, it turned out that what it was just Prisoner, but it was a Russian prisoner that Stephen Amell's character, Oliver, oh my goodness, befriends and ends up, I didn't know that, but his background, of the character's background, is that he was trained in the Russian mob, right? So what started as a 3 or 4 episode gig in season 2, and the phone went dead in season 3, it rang again in season 5, and the whole season, every almost episode, they ended up doing the backstory, the flashbacks of the mentorship and what happens between Oliver and Anatoly, and that was great fun. That was great fun to shoot that stuff with Stephen. I mean, those guys.
You have great chemistry with him as well. Actually, I mean to say that it's very different chemistry to.
It's a different thing, yeah, and it's a hard show, and he had a hard gig. I mean, these guys that were the number 1, 2, and 3s on these action shows. I mean, that dude is like fighting. He's got like stunt call and all the lines that he's got to do. I mean, hats off. It's careful what you ask for, sort of thing. I always think of that. It's a great gig. It's great to be number 1, 2, and 3, but you really got to know you got to work. And so he was, and so it was really good to again to sort of come in there. And it was a little harder than Stargate because the accent Russian is not closest to me, so I had to sort of make sure I got that spot on. And it's a hardworking set. It's sort of 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. kind of, and doing stunts and not as much jokey. I mean, it was amiable. It wasn't like a mean set, but it was get the job done, get the work done. Street level crime, right? So a lot of ratchets, a lot of springboards, a lot of those kind of fight sort of stunt things.
Yeah, it's a very physical show, and actually you are in great shape. Not that you've ever not been, but I wondered about that. Did you have to like train to play Anatoly?
I sort of took it upon myself to sort of, a little bit to sort of make sure that I mean, you're working with Stephen Amell and superheroes, so it's like, okay. So a little bit. I've do that anyway, sort of as much as I can, but that helped to sort of have that to work up to. But it speaks more to the fact that you don't know as an actor what's gonna come down the pike, so just be ready, I guess, or be prepared, and what is that? I mean, then basically dress for the job you want, anticipate that there will be more.
Yeah, absolutely. And with him, he goes through, as I said, this fantastic arc that he's a friend, then a foe, and then a friend. He's a member of the Bratva. You know, Dolph Lundgren. I mean, hello, one of the like 80s icons. Yeah. What was that like working with
Dolph Lundgren? That was kind of funny.
I mean, he's the man.
Yeah, he's the man. Everyone was just sort of like Dolph's on set, and I mean, I remember as a kid too, when he was Rocky 3, right? That was that was the Dolph Lundgren thing, and you know, he's an older guy, but still doing the action sequences. It's just amazing how they do it. Like they'll have him do the and then cut, and then he steps out, and then the stunt guy comes in to do the fight. So that sort of stuff. But that was good. Yeah, fun with Dolph Lundgren.
And you worked also with lovely Mike, who was on the show last week. So
Mike Dupont, how is he doing? I haven't talked to him for a while.
He's great. We had to sort of power through because he had to go and pick up his kids from school. So you know, the realities of life. But no, he was great and said to send you lots of love as well. So that was wonderful.
We could just call each other.
He's just great, isn't he? I mean, again, like just a lovely, lovely person. I think if there's one sort of consecutive or consistent thing that the Stargate producers and writers got right, is that they constantly cast people who are lovely to each other and with one another. And it's true because we're all still friends, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It is a wonderful thing. Yeah.
So Arrow looks like it was a really happy and rewarding experience for you, particularly, as you said, you just never know what's coming down the pipeline, do you? You just got to...
Yeah. And, you know, a little bit of stability is great when that arrives. And it was nice to sort of be able to tell that story full fold. And we, right through till the end of season 7. Kept Anna totally around, so I was thrilled about that. It was a real treat.
That's great. And I mean, you're marksman. You know, you had to do so many sort of wonderfully exciting things, I think.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like being a kid. It was like being a kid at recess, being at play, and shooting things.
Which is why we chose to do it.
That's why we chose to do it, right? Exactly. Exactly.
When you're crafting a character like that, how do you like to work? Do you like to go sort of from the page to then thinking, oh, I like to think, you know, he's going to have a beard, or are you guided by, I mean, obviously on a film, they very often will go, this is what your costume is. We thought this for your hair. And then it's a collaborative thing. But do you like to go from the page to the physical, or the other way around with the shoes?
Well, to say what I'd like to do would be great, to have everything prepared the way you're supposed to, but it never happens that way. I mean, you usually find out on a Thursday that you're shooting on a Friday, and then you're panicked because you don't get the text, you don't have the pages and stuff. So I find with TV and TV schedules, you just work with the clues that you have. And oftentimes, sometimes even with the auditions, they've redacted the name of the character that you're speaking with because they're so worried about you get. And I'm like, you know, I'm an actor. Could you please give me as much as I can to prepare? Am I talking to the lead of the show here? Great. So thanks for letting me know that. You know, why are you keeping secret that it's whoever it is that they're trying to keep secret that is in the show? Like, I mean, don't cut your actors out. That's what I hate. So I try to gain as much information as I can about it. I hate it when the scripts come late. The sooner you can get the script and you can start, and that's what you work with. You work with the text. You start with the text, and you start imagining how you could be saying that. And then a big step is for me to walk with it, or to exercise with it, or to take it somewhere where it's in the body. Because if you just sit at your desk and you read it, or you just sit in your car and read it at the audition, it sort of lives in this region here. It doesn't go in. And so that's kind of my pet peeve, is to have enough time. And usually actors are the last people in the thing. I don't get it too. It's like, well, you guys have done location scouting. You've picked your wardrobe, but the actor that's playing it doesn't know his words until that sort of stuff drives me nuts. Like, tell us what we're doing and release the information. Don't worry about us putting it online, or oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and also, it's so, like, now with auditions, like your name is blazoned across every page. I mean, like, you know, you'd be so easy to be found if you did. I agree with you. Like, nothing irritates me more. I auditioned for something last year, like in the middle of the pandemic. Well, I still don't actually know what I auditioned for, because I had to sign about 5 NDAs. They wouldn't even let me send the tape to my agent. I had to send the tape directly to them. I think it was something to do with Marvel, because it's definitely some sort of superhero thing. But the scene that they sent had nothing to do with the script. So I was a bit like, so hang on, I don't even know if I'm actually playing this character, because you've sent me something, because there wasn't a note saying this is not a scene from the film, but the character is similar. So
I know.
That seems so weird to me. Like, why would you? And then they sent a reference video, and I was like, the reference video didn't really match the script, which was also weird. Anyway, didn't get it.
True. It's true. So yeah, no, I like to work with whichever as much material as you can, right? Find out as much. That comes from the theater background. You try to find out about as much as you can, and so you get as much as you can out of your agent and out of the production. They won't give you and it's usually the little byline that's in the breakdown, right? That's the description that you have. Anyone goes with it. It's after that you have to make it your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's right, and sometimes it's not. You know.
Indeed.
Before we hand over for questions, I'm just going to talk to you about 2 of your most recent credits. You were in 2 fantastic pieces in 2019, or they came out in 2019. The Sleepers for HBO Europe. Which is fantastic, because it's filmed almost entirely in Czech. I mean, there is English in it. But I mean, I haven't watched all of it, because I've had to scramble to try and find all of it. But I've seen 3 episodes, and it's really fantastic. I mean, firstly, I am a sucker for subtitles. So, you know, hit me with a subtitle. I love it.
Awesome.
I heard you say in a previous interview that the director took a chance on you. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, this is really this is great because I really want to talk to people that have seen The Sleepers, because it is kind of hard, especially here in North America, hard to get. What if it was a fantastic shoot? It was almost a year and a half in Prague in the winter.
Wow.
Yeah, so I lived. Yeah, I lived there. I basically moved there for the year to shoot it, and it was just spread out over all the different months because they wanted spring look and they wanted fall look. I would fly back and forth also, but yeah, it was a great shoot, and it was I played an English character. I played an MI6 agent that is basically involved in the Czech uprising, and a central character in Where is Victor? So if you were to finish that, then I'm not going to give that away. But the character was the reason why they got me is fully bilingual. They wanted someone that English and Czech, and I said, well, my English is North American, as you can hear. So I did have a coach, and I learned as best English as I could.
Yes,
and I played. Is it? I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear. I tried my best, but it was great to work with. What a great Hattie.
Yes,
she was great in that, and we had a she's basically who I worked with the most, right? Her and Victor. But yeah, really fun working in Czech, and a really great director. Just the look of it, the look of Prague, 1989, before the
the set is fantastic. Not the set, what's the word? Art direction is
the production
just fantastic.
Yeah, and it was tough for them to find like the old beat up communist looking Prague too, right?
I bet. Yeah. And also, what's really fascinating, it's a sort of section of history that I think we know very little about. Yeah. It's not often presented. It's not often seen on screen.
Yeah, our most recent, So
I found it fascinating, and great. Again, like the look of your character is really specific.
Yeah,
and you have a really wonderful kind of quiet intensity in your work that I think is an absolute rip-roaring gift for an actor to have, because what it does is it makes us, the viewer, go like that.
Marvelous. What a wonderful thing to say, Suanne. Thank you very much. That's very
well. I speak the truth.
That's most excellent. That's what we try to do. We're both magicians of the craft.
Well, we try, right? I love it so much, and I just feel so lucky to be able to do it when I get to do it. So
I do too.
Doesn't feel like work,
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's a real pleasure to when it works and when it happens, when it all comes together, and all the bullshit fades away, and all the auditioning and all the politics, and you're actually doing the scene.
Yeah.
What a joy. What a pleasure.
Yeah, there's nothing like it, is there? Nothing in the world.
No. That's what we do.
And just before we end, you did a sort of a completely turnabout, playing a Cockney Bobby in Carnival Row.
Carnival Row,
darling, up the apples and stairs.
Yeah.
How was that? I mean,
curious story. It's a big production. It's a massive production. It's one of the biggest ones ever shot in Prague. As a matter of fact, I think it is the biggest production ever shot in Prague. I was shooting the HBO series there, and the producer from Arrow, Mark Guggenheim, came over to Carnival Row shooting in Prague. So what are the chances of that? So that was really cool. I got the role. And then after the first 2 episodes, they promptly changed the producers. Mark was out, and I was too. So I don't know what I think it might have had to do with the fact that they had to bring me in from Vancouver to Prague, and the flying in for a character like that. I don't think they wanted to continue with that, because it was all English actors. It was all English actors. And Orlando Bloom and Cara Delevingne and that. And I was literally the only North American kid there, and I sort of thought, I think it sort of proved sort of production-wise unsustainable, even though it's a massive production. They just sort of so a couple days as a Bobby. That was very good. That was good fun.
But was it fun? Did you have fun, kind of like exercising?
Yeah, it's one of those mega productions, and you're sort of a cog in the wheel. So it was a bit like, let me just sort of make it through the day a little bit, kind of thing. It was a little bit it's a big production, and all secret and Victorian England, and the back lot in Prague that you're not allowed to take pictures on, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was a challenging shoot. It was freezing freaking cold. It was really, really cold during the filming of that. I mean, all the layers, all the stuff, and macabre stuff like entrails and lying around. So that was that kind of a shoot.
Yeah, I watched your 2 episodes, and then I was like, this program's not for me. It's just too. I mean, it is very imaginative.
It's a big world. Like, it's an entire universe that's been designed. Yeah, Carnival Row that's been designed. So,
yeah. But I just love imaginative stuff like that too. So, that's the plus side of it. And
what a
before
thorough
finally,
interview. My goodness.
thank you.
Wow.
Thank you very much. Before we hand over to some of the fan questions, I wanted to ask you, what is on David Nykl's bucket list in terms of roles? Like, like you've pretty much done everything. I'd love to see you in a comedy. Do you like comedy?
I love comedy. Yeah, I love the 2-person comedy, the kind of stuff that David Nykl and I were doing before. That would be great to bring back a kind of Mutt and Jeff routine, something like that. I love westerns too, and I love to do that. There's a great script called The Sisters Brothers. So I always thought that would be
sheriff.
Huh?
I could see you as a sheriff, or like
as a sheriff. Oh, okay.
Or maybe not.
Something like that would be fun. Bad guys are always fun to do. Really, anything consistent, Suanne. Anything consistent.
Well, from your lips to the God's ears, let's make it so. Let's make it happen. 2021, 2022.
And for you too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And hopefully we get to work together again. That would be so lovely.
That would be
not again, together.
Together, yeah. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. So we take questions now from the internet?
Yes. So people send your questions. I've got a few that people have sent in before. So I'll start off with that while we get some, somebody saying Radek the Gunslinger. That would be cool. So the first question I've got is, for Stargate Atlantis, how long did it take you to master the accent for Dr. Zlanker?
I am surrounded by Czech people all the time. My wife is Czech. My parent, everyone speaks Czech around me, so I hear the accent all the time. It doesn't take very long. I think a lot of people are surprised when they hear me speaking that I don't actually have that accent. So I can forget that people expect me to speak that way when I do speak. But this is what I sound like, and the accent is just something that I do.
There was I saw some message boards from Arrow, and people were like, "Oh my God, he's Canadian? What? I totally thought he was Russian. What?" And then one girl was like, "I'm so traumatized."
Really? She was traumatized by that.
She was traumatized. I don't know why I made her American, but anyway. So someone has asked, after Stargate, what did you like about your priest role in season 3 of Fringe?
Oh, cool. Working with Jennifer Beals was lovely. It was a nice, quiet, kind of cool role. Never played a priest officially on screen before. That was neat. And I remember when I got into the shuttle van, I dinged my head on the top of the one of those things that fold out of the ceiling. So I did the scene with my head bleeding.
For real?
Yeah. Like I was like, ow, ow. And it was like, we had to shoot and we had to get there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just get through this scene.
Wow. And they were like, well, have him again. He's a trooper.
I don't think they knew. No, they didn't.
Yeah, that's really awful, isn't it? When you get injured on a set and then you're like, no, I'm fine.
It wasn't even. It was just sort of bonking. It was just sort of bonking yourself. But just like you scrape yourself. But it was more concern. I was concerned that the scene that I get blood coming down my eye as a priest. I was like,
it's the stigmata.
It's the stigmata. Yes, very holy, super holy.
And then somebody's asked, when you were going off swearing in Atlantis, what were you saying? But I think we've already covered that. We fuck, basically.
Yes, ad nauseum.
And then here's a question saying, I was wondering who was your favorite TV or movie villain as a kid or teen, or one that really used to freak you out, and why?
The default is Darth Vader, but that just looms culturally large. But I remember as a kid that was scary. As a bad guy, let's go with that. I don't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always so. And then the final.
The real answer is I was never scared as a child.
Yes, please. I'm from.
Please.
Yes, I'm Czech. I'm never scared. Do we have any questions on the screen? I'm sorry that I can't access it on my. Here we go. Can we talk about the legendary scene in the elevator with Amanda Tapping?
Oh, legendary, legendary.
Can we?
When you're in an elevator with Amanda Tapping, you know, how often does that happen? It was a lovely shoot. It was an absolutely lovely shoot. It's spoiler alert, not a real elevator. It's like a box. It's like what? And the stagehands open the thing. It's not an elevator. So it's really funny because we're sitting beside each other in our actors' chairs chatting about, you know, life and kids and stuff like that, and then we go into this little box and have a frantic scene, and then go and sit down beside each other and chat and have coffee and stuff, and go in and have the frantic scene. So it's very nice. It's kind of arbitrary to go into a little telephone booth beside the chairs that you're sitting on and be panicked. But there was peril around every corner on Atlantis, Suanne. I don't know if you know that.
Yes,
we had to do a lot of peril.
There was indeed. You needed Goddess Hathor to help you guys occasionally.
Yes.
But alas, frozen in ice, apparently. Do we have any more questions?
Poutine or no poutine?
No, poutine.
No?
Pourquoi? No. Non.
Tu n'aimes pas la poutine, pourquoi?
Non, je suis très désolée, mais non.
Ouais, tu es pas canadien, tu es...
Oui, c'est vrai.
On fait la meilleure poutine du monde.
Oui, je suis désolée, mais c'est vrai.
I'd say yes, with good curds and gravy. Yeah, I'll go for a good poutine.
Mind you, I've only had it twice, and I have to say, second time was better. So I think you're right. It depends on the curds.
Oh, it does. Oh, it does. Oh, you got to get no. You got to set you up properly with a good poutine.
Hey, David. Hey, Suanne. I've got a question for David. What place can you recommend to visit in Prague? When Suanne will be in Prague? Suanne, but you spelt my name with only one N, love. It's Suanne with two N's. Suanne.
No, I see two N's. And the handle.
The hashtag. Suanne. Swain, like Dwayne.
Swain. Hey,
yes,
Swain.
where I am going to Prague Comic Con. Are you going to be there? I feel like
when is that?
It's October.
In October?
No, it was meant to be May, and then obviously because of the pandemic, they had to push it. So it's currently, please God, it all happens in October. I think the 15th.
That's terrific. I don't think I'll be going in October. I know that I'm going to be speaking to them. I think there's some kind of just a talkie like I'm doing right now.
Brilliant.
Sometimes coming up. It was that was the last convention I was at in February of 2020, just before the pandemic came down. I was in Prague for a Comic-Con, and it was lovely. Wow, they really pulled out all the stops. One of those few places where I actually got off the plane, and there was somebody at the door of the plane, not even at the end of the jetway, at the door of the plane. We're walking down the little stairs of the tarmac to the little VIP lounge. Huh?
Wow.
Ballin'.
Well, if I don't get that, I'm not coming.
Yeah. Now I've raised the bar. Now they've got to get everybody off of the VIP.
I'd be
like the president of Portugal
Portugal
had just left, and I was like, wow. Thanks, Comic-Con.
Yeah, they're not messing around. But yes, we definitely need to have a chat because I would absolutely love to get some tips on where to go. And in fact, I think I'm going to stay on past the convention just because I've always wanted to visit Prague. I did a Hallmark movie about 5 years ago, and one of the actors came. We were filming in Romania, but one of the actors, an English actor, was working and living in Prague because he was like, I love it so much. I've just fallen in love with it. There's so much work. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So... You know.
Yeah, it is tremendous there. I was there for 10 years that time. Much of it has changed, and I wouldn't know what to recommend now during the pandemic because I think everything is closed. So it's kind of like anywhere in the world, there's no point in going anywhere because everything will close. But come the summertime, I'm confident that things will start opening up, and the gardens and the beer gardens and the outdoor patios in Prague are legendary, and they're terrific. You can't go wrong with any one of those that you go to.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. And so I think on that note, I would like to say thank you so much. I know we haven't covered your entire career. You'll have to come back. We'll do another one some other time. But what a joy it was talking to you again, David. Thank you so much.
You as well, Suanne. Thank you very much for a wonderful interview. Some great questions. And as always, a pleasure to talk to you. And all you guys out there, thanks for the questions.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. And to everybody else, thank you so much for being so patient. at the top of the show because we kept having to push the time because of my Wi-Fi situation here at home. We're going to be getting a new router, basically. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, David, for being such a wonderful, so gracious about that, and just such a great interview subject. It was a joy to chat to you. Thank you all for joining us. I'm so sorry I've not been able to see the comments this evening, but I will be having a look. And I will see you next week with the Wraith Queen herself, Miss Andy Frizzell, all the way from Thailand. In fact, next week's interview will probably be in the afternoon because of the time difference, but details to follow. We're just working out the time. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and much love to you all. Stay safe, wear your masks. Love you all, and thank you so much for joining us. Good night. Bye.